Hi again, it's Emily back for week 6 to talk to you more about music and singing. Last week we talked about how music sounds different when you change how many beats are in a measure. We also talked about what the job of a conductor is and how a conductor lets us know how many beats are in a measure by how he or she waves his or her arms in a pattern. This week we're going to talk about what happens when more than one sound gets made at the same time. And we're also going to talk about how lots of things have to happen at the same time when we sing. So thanks for joining me again and enjoy this week's video. Now, a lot of times when you're listening to music, or maybe when you're singing in a choir, more than one sound is happening at the same time. But all of those sounds work together to make a piece of music. When more than one sound happens at the same time, we call it a chord. Now, you may have heard the word chord if you're taking music lessons, or maybe if you sung in a choir or looked at a piece of music. A chord is simply two or more sounds happening at the same time. I'll say that again. A chord is when two or more sounds happen at the same time. Let me take a minute to show you what a chord looks like on a piece of music and to play for you what a chord might sound like. I'm going to show you what a chord might look like on a piece of music. I'm going to show you the musical staff, like we've talked about in our past videos, and show you the notes C, E, and G stacked up to make a chord. Now remember, I said a chord is two or more sounds happening at the same time. A lot of times, chords have 3 notes. So the chord I'm going to show you has 3 notes. Look right here. We have the 5 lines of the musical staff. This happens to be the treble clef. And here I've written middle C, E, and G. See how those notes are stacked up? 1, 2, 3. That is a chord. Now, chords can also appear broken apart. It's the same notes, we just unstacked them. So one more time. Here is a chord of 3 notes. We have middle C, E, and G. We can write that same chord broken apart, so the notes aren't stacked anymore. Let me show you what that might sound like. Now you've seen what a chord made up of C, E, and G might look like on a piece of music. Now let me play that same chord for you. First, I'll play C, E, and G broken apart so you can hear them by themselves. Now when we stack them up, you get this kind of chord. Again, C, E, and G stacked to make a chord. Now you may be wondering, can a chord be made up of any notes? I said it would be 2 or more, but does it matter which notes make up a chord? Well, yes, it actually does. So maybe it's important to talk about what the job of a chord is. What is the job of a chord? Well, to put it simply, a chord has 2 jobs. Chords lead our ears through a piece of music, and they support the melodies that we hear. Let me say that again. Chords lead our ear through a piece of music and support the melodies that we hear. If you think of a piece of music kind of like a map, the chords are like the GPS system, pointing your ear in the right direction so you can follow the piece of music. They also give support to the melodies we hear by leading our ear from the beginning of the music to the end. Let me give you an example of what I mean. I'll use a song that you probably know pretty well. I'm going to start by playing a piece of music that you probably all know. But I'm only going to play the chords. I'm going to play the chords stacked, like I showed you, lined up, 3 notes all at the same time. I'll play them a little quickly to get through the whole piece. That wasn't so exciting. Something's definitely missing. Now, like I said, one of the jobs of chords is to lead our ear through a piece of music. And those chords did that. They all sounded good. They made sense together. And that's one of the jobs of chords. They work together. But the other thing I said they do is they support a melody. That's what was missing, the melody. Let me go back and play the melody with the chords and now see if you can recognize the piece. Oh, that's familiar. So there we had the chords with the melody, and that made a little bit more sense to our ears. Now remember how I showed you that chords can be played stacked, like I just played them, all three notes at the same time, or you can break them apart. Well, sometimes when you're first learning a piece of music, it can help make the music sound a little more interesting or a little fancier if you break up the chords. Here's what I mean. Instead of playing the stacked chords, I can break those chords up, and this is what it sounds like. So that's the difference between a stacked chord and a broken chord. You can hear that it softens the music and makes it sound a little bit fancier. So that was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. First you heard just the chords, then you heard the melody, and then you heard the difference between the stacked chords and the broken chords. Remember how I said that it wasn't necessarily just any notes making up a chord? And then we talked about the job of a chord. Well, it's not very important for you to know this right now, but if you keep studying music, you'll learn that chords have names. And those names of those chords help us know how to use those chords. You'll learn that certain chords come before or after certain other chords. And that's how a lot of the music that we know is built. Chords are building blocks that help us create different styles and different sounds of music. Different types of music will often put different chords in different orders. So kind of like when we talked about scales, how you would mix and match, pulling notes from one scale, putting them in another scale, it's kind of the same thing with chords. And again, that's not important for you to know very much about right now, but you can kind of file it away in the back of your brain that it's another great thing about music. We get to use these building blocks to create all kinds of different sounds. So when you go on to study more about music, you'll find out more about how these chords work together. Just like we stack up notes to make a chord, we can think about stacking up our body to help us sing better. Now, we spend a lot of time with our bodies unstacked, right? Sometimes we're slouched over our table or our desk when we're trying to do school at home, or we're lying down on the couch, or we're hunched over our phone. We spend a lot of time unstacked. But for singing, we want to learn how to stack our body up so that we have good posture. Good posture means our body is in the right alignment to be able to move freely for singing. I'll say that again. Stacking up our body or having good posture or alignment means that we are able to use our bodies freely and the way they were designed to be used to sing. Okay, so which parts of our body do we need to stack up? Let me show you a picture. Here is my little friend, the skeleton man, or woman. Let's take a look. All right, so these are the areas we're gonna look at. There's gonna be 6 of them. They'll be easy to remember. We've got our ankles, our knees, our hips, our waist, our shoulders, and our head. See how this person is nicely aligned? Ankles, knees, hips, waist, shoulder, head. That's about how we want to be lined up to sing well. Now, being lined up doesn't mean being frozen stiff. I want to make that really clear. Being lined up means being balanced. And when you're balanced, you're ready to move when you want to. Let me say that again because it's really important. Having good posture or being lined up to sing doesn't mean being stiff or frozen. It means being balanced so you're ready to move when you want to or when you need to. Okay, now might be a great time to get up off your chair or your couch or your bed and try finding some good alignment. I'll talk you through it. So, first we're going to start with our ankles. I know you can't see my ankles. Here they are. Try rolling your feet around a couple times, moving your ankles, and just kind of feeling what it feels like to feel that joint at your ankle have some movement in it. Okay, those are our ankles. Now, if you remember in our picture, our little guy had his ankles and his knees stacked over each other. So bend your knees a few times. Find what it feels like to let your knees move. Notice that your knees and your ankles are moving when you bend your knees. And now find a way to stand where it feels like your knees are over your ankles. There we go. All right, hips. A good way to get your hips moving is to feel like you're doing a hula hoop. Maybe do a hula hoop a couple times, or rock forward, backward. Feel your hips feeling nice and free. Now see if you can line your hips up over your knees. Bend your knees, maybe go up on your tiptoes, move your ankles. So now we've got ankles, knees, hips. The next spot is a little trickier. It's your waist. So if we were out of alignment, maybe we'd be bent this way or bent this way. Try to line up your waist with your hips. Yeah, feel like your waist, your hips, your knees, and your ankles are all in a nice line. There we go. Next, our shoulders. Oh man, our shoulders can get so tight when we're hunched over this way. So let's try rolling our shoulders back a few times. There we go. Just make some little chicken wings. Roll your chicken wings back. There you go. I know, I'm being so silly. All right, so now we've got our shoulders awake. See if you can line your shoulders up over your hips. For a lot of us, this means rolling our shoulders back a little bit, right? Because we're used to being hunched forward. So roll your shoulders back a little bit. There we go. And then think shoulders, waist, hips, knees, ankles. Everything is loose enough to be ready to move, but balanced over each other. Now this next one is really important. A lot of times if we're looking down at our phone or we're looking down at our computer, our poor neck is like this all day, right? So sometimes it helps if you look from the side. Watch. Maybe take your hand, put it right at the bottom of your head. For me, that's right under my ponytail right now. Move your head, say yes a few times. See how your head moves on your neck? Yeah, get that joint moving. Maybe roll your head in a couple gentle circles, and then think about your head sitting freely on your neck, not pushed forward, not leaning back, but sitting nice and evenly over your shoulders, ears over shoulders, over waist, over hips, over knees, over ankles. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell if you're in good alignment because it's hard to see yourself. So this is a good time to ask someone in your family or ask a friend, do I look lined up? Do my joints look like they're stacked like a chord? Do we have ankles, knees, hips, waist, shoulders, and your head or your ears all lined up? Sometimes it's going to feel really funny even when it's right, because we're not used to it. If we're used to hunching over or sticking our necks forward, or maybe we're used to standing leaning back, when we get into good alignment, it feels weird because it's new. That's why it's important to have someone help you out to know if you're well lined up. So I hope you had fun getting up, shaking it out, and finding some good alignment for singing. Because when all our joints are lined up well, everything in our body can move for those great big breaths we need for singing. You might be thinking now, okay, fine, that's good posture for singing, but I don't want to sing, or I'm going to play the piano, or I'm just going to be listening to music. Well, one of the things I love about being a singer is that I get to learn all these things that are actually useful in a lot of other ways. So having good posture can help you whether you want to be an athlete, or whether you're going to play the piano, or whether you're going to need to get up in front of people and speak someday, or maybe just up in front of your class. Having good posture, good alignment, like we talked about, again, it doesn't mean being stiff. It means being balanced and ready. And when you're balanced and ready, you can go for a ball that you need to get, or you can move all the way up and down the piano to play all the notes you need to play, or you can feel more confident about yourself when you get up to say something. I know it can be really hard to sometimes feel proud of ourselves or to feel confident that we have something important to say, but having good posture is one way you can really help build your own confidence and pride in yourself. So I really encourage you, even if you don't want to sing, practice standing up straight, rolling your shoulders back, and being balanced and ready. It tells people around you that you believe in yourself and that you know you deserve to be heard and you deserve to be here doing the things you want to do. So I hope that that helps you with a little bit of perspective on how something that works for me as a singer can work for all of us in a lot of different ways. So today we talked about what a chord is and what a chord's job is. A chord is two or more sounds or notes being played at the same time. The job of a chord is to lead our ear through music and to support the melodies that we hear. We also talked about stacking our body up, kind of like a chord, in good alignment or good posture, not just for singing, but for everything we do in life. When we're aligned and balanced for singing, all the things that need to happen when we sing, including good big breaths, can happen more easily. So thank you for joining me this week, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week to talk more about music and singing. Bye.